Hello, I'm Leonard Nimoy. The following tale of alien encounters is true, and by true, I mean false.
Aliens and UFOs. Two things that pair together like peanut butter and chocolate, and something we've been fascinated with since we looked at the stars. Aliens have been a part of pop culture since H.G. Wells' First Men in the Moon, as well as War of the Worlds, and have been household favorites since the Metaluna Mutant and Mr. Spock.
Thanks, Jim. It's good to have a friend like you.
Strange, that's the way I feel about you too, my dear friend Spock. Come, let's go get Mud and Christine.
But my personal favorites are the Transformers, robots from the planet Cybertron. Most Transformers have pretty inconspicuous alt modes when you get down to it. You know, cars you'd see every day, like Porsches, Lamborghinis, Martini racers, and Formula cars. Transformers kind of went off the rails really fast when you start thinking about it. You get the Dinobots, who turn into giant robot dinosaurs, Shockwave, who turns into a laser space gun, and then one of my favorites, Cosmos, 1985 Minibot who turns into a little green UFO. We're going to take a bit of a Star Trek into the modern age. Instead of the G1 figure, we're going to take a look at the thrilling 30 figure released in 2014. This figure is a much more modernized approach to Cosmos, and is based heavily on the IDW comics art. This figure takes a lot of the original charm of Cosmos and modernizes it quite a bit. Slimming down the profile, the UFO is a lot less bulbous and is more of a classic 2-pie flying saucer. It has a little bit of a retro-futuristic charm with the big 50s tail fin in the back, as well as two blasters right up on front. It's not exactly the big UFO mothership of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, but it's more of like a cute little cosmic space racer, perfect for a fun little guy like Cosmos. One of the interesting things about Cosmos is that his UFO alternate mode's never really been explained in Transformers continuity. The Marvel Comics kind of glosses over it, and it's a little implied that it might actually be his Cybertronian alt mode. I guess that means that all Cybertronians natively look like they're from 50s B-movies. Some people might think it's a little silly to run around the universe looking like he came straight from Roswell, New Mexico, but Cosmos' UFO alt mode saved the day at least once. In the IDW Transformers Mars Attacks crossover, itself a pretty crazy idea, Cosmos actually destroys the invading fleet by disguising himself as one of the Martian UFOs and sneaking in. As far as we know, Cosmos hasn't really caused any trouble in alt mode. He hasn't abducted anybody or turned their brain into mashed potatoes, but I'm sure if you go through the files of MUFON, ATIP, and APRO, he might be hiding in there somewhere. But that's enough of Cosmos teasing UFO experts for now. Let's move on to his robot mode. The Thrilling 30 Cosmos does a great job of reimagining the portly and squat mini-bot of 85 and turning it into a much more realized robot. One of the things that Cosmos has struggled with over the past 40 years of toy designs is the fact that he's a pretty unconventional shape. Most of the Autobots are pretty blocky, especially in alt mode, whereas Cosmos, well, he's the shape of a pie pan. The Thrilling 30 figure does a great job of rearranging all these round parts to give him a unique silhouette, as well as a proportionate robot mode. The core of the alt mode becomes the chest, whereas the distinctive saucer section breaks apart into wedge shapes to become the limbs. Cosmos doesn't come with any conventional accessories. Instead, he's packaged with a Micromaster. This is Payload, based off the 1990 Blastmaster, and he turns into a little NASA space shuttle. It's cute, it's squat, and honestly, if that's actually to scale, then Cosmos is a huge UFO. Payload pulls double duty though. Not only is he a Micromaster, but just in case Cosmos enters some sort of Star War, he becomes his target master, turning into this pretty basic double-barreled space blaster. It's not great, but it's a fun little bonus. The great thing about the 1980s mini-bots is they all have a distinct charm to them. Whether it's Bumblebee, Cliffjumper, Beachcomber, Warpath, or Powerglide, you know who they are and they're pretty memorable. Part of that's their quirks as well as their fun little characteristics, and Cosmos is no different. The great thing about Cosmos is that he's one of the friendliest and kindest of the mini-bots out there. Much like his friends Sea Spray and Beachcomber, he's really just looking for a nice place to live amongst the stars and be himself. This quest for peace is best seen in the IDW comics, where in a post-war environment, Cosmos is one of the first characters to reach out to Decepticons to look for peaceful coexistence. Originally sent to spy on them by Optimus Prime, Cosmos learns that there's a hippie commune of Decepticons led by Soundwave, all of whom are just looking for a new life without the war. This friendship between Cosmos, Soundwave, and his Decepticons eventually results in this team sacrificing their lives to defend the Earth, the universe, and all Cybertronians from the threat that is Unicron. And that's the great thing about Cosmos. He might be a little UFO traveling amongst the stars, but he knows in this big, bright galaxy that the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. And he's willing to lay down his life to protect his friends and all those in the universe.